Hello everyone. Recently there's been lots of discussion about the new 4.7 Abyss-like endgame content, so I've gathered some advice about what you should do and prepare for it. To get it out of the way, it is extremely easy. The enemies who will be fighting are literally easier than overworld enemies. The main thing is to get enough DPS characters and ensure you have at least 11 level 70 characters of the right element, or you can't even enter it. A big disclaimer, it is very subject to change as it's very early in the beta, so keep that in mind. An extremely brief overview of how it works is you start off with 6 fixed characters that you either have to own, or if you don't own them, you use the trial characters. And as you battle, you get more and more characters, similar to a roguelike if you've played one before. However, each character can only fight 2 battles, so you can't keep on using the same character. But before anyone panics about the terrible trial character builds, yes, they are still terrible, but the enemies are extremely easy for the first few stages. Think of them as being similar to character test runs, so it's really nothing to panic about. Now onto the basic strategies. Because of the way you get to choose characters, you're never going to have a quote-unquote proper team, so the main focus should be on making sure you always have a DPS character, no matter what character you currently have. This means a minimum of 4 DPS from the chosen element. It may even have to be less if you use some trial characters, but don't worry too much if you don't have many characters, because as I've said, the enemies are literally overworld level, so non-mainstream carries would also be fine. Some usable 4-star carries, if you don't have enough 5-star, are things like Beidou, Yanfei, Diluc, Deya, Keqing, C6 Hazel, and C6 Lynette. This also means avoiding characters that are purely support, like Chivalrous and Sarah. Some things you might also want to do is put your support characters that can do damage on their DPS build. For example, 4-piece Emblem on Venti, Kazuha on Animal Crit build, C6 Farazon on DPS build. One important note, however, is that you cannot change the artifact or the weapon once you are inside the Abyss, so you need to be able to gear around 4 to 10 characters at the same time. As for healers, they are not really that important outside of boss stages, and the stages outside of boss stages can be compared to character trial runs, and do you die there? No you don't, so you don't need healers there, and you should save your healers for the boss stages, which you do need them for. The biggest challenge in this is likely Coplia, which is the Ice Shield variant, and it's probably going to be in the last stage. But for this stage, you will have gotten most of your characters from a roster, so plan your characters accordingly. It is in fact easier than the Coplia in Overworld, so you can test it on that. Some choices that everyone has is either use your Shaolin or use the trial Alicino, which should able to do the job. But make sure they are still available for the last stage, and make sure you have a healer or shielder for this stage, because as we all know, Coplia can be quite aggressive to say the least. Another thing is, right now it seems that you will be able to borrow 1 unit from your friends, so in theory you can just borrow a C6 Alicino and solo the hard stages, but I'm not putting that into consideration here. One reason is that it's well known that Genshin players don't have friends. Okay, more seriously, there seems to be a limit on the number of times a character can be borrowed, so it might be hard to find one to use. And another is that even without borrowing, it should be very easy for most players. Summarizing one last time, make sure you have 11 level 70 characters of the matching element, have at least 4, ideally more, DPS characters, have enough artifact and weapon to gear them, plan for the final boss, and you're good. It's really not that hard, and there's no need to panic. One more thing, be sure to check the pinned comment, if there are any, because this is in beta, very subject to change, so if anything changes that's relevant, I will try to keep things up to date there. Also, lots of credit goes to the CM bilibili creator, which I've taken a lot of the advice from, and I will link his channel in the description. Also, if you enjoy the content in the channel, which I've been mostly doing speedruns lately, please subscribe, and thank you. Bye.